And welcome back to Watch Party Wednesday, and we have got a fun one for you guys today. The Week 15 23-3 win over the Denver Broncos set a lot of records in this game. We're going to break them all down, and we are going to do it not only with Mitch Holtis, but with pro best in the business, Eric Fisher. Fish, how are we doing today, man?
What's up, dudes? I appreciate you having me on, man. I see that picture of the snow, man. It's just like, hey, summer can be here already, right?
Yeah. Mitch, what do you like most about this game?
Yeah, man, I'm a Michigan cat, so I love the snow. There's very few things in life I like more than snow. I don't call me crazy, but I'll take a blizzard over like 100 any day. So I live for games like that. Playing at Central Michigan, we had a lot of cold, icy snow games, and so it brings back good memories on that level. But also, man, there's nothing better than a good snowstorm.
Hey, Fish, it's awesome to see you. You guys have 4th of July picnics in this stuff. I mean, you were weaned on these kind of days.
For real, I'm up in Michigan now, and I think it literally was snowing here like 3 weeks ago, but now it's like 80 today, so I'm hoping summer's here finally.
Fisher, as we get ready for kickoff, before we do, one of the stories that came out of this game that most of us on the outside found out after the fact was that Dick Vermeil, Coach Reed had him come and talk to you guys. And from what we gather, it was a pretty impressive speech. I think I read or heard somewhere that he gave he got a standing ovation at the end of it. Just if you can recall, I know it was a while ago, just what that speech was about and just kind of what it meant to you guys going into this game.
Yeah, that was pretty special to get a speech from a guy like that. And, just from the loads and loads of experience, and he's been there and done that in every situation. And we were sitting in a pretty good spot, but it wasn't a game to take lightly, and especially with the weather coming. And I just remember I think the main message was like, it doesn't matter who you're playing, how good of a position you're in, or how bad of a position. You should approach every game the same. Treat every game like it's your last. And we all really took it to heart, man, because, obviously the game turned out in our favor. And it was definitely something like we'll all remember. It was pretty cool to hear from him. And, hopefully we'll see him again.
Absolutely. Good luck.
Kids love you, Fish. They love you. They also love the movie Frozen. So I think in this, you're like the kid Kristoff. You're like the character Kristoff in this movie. When I watch this tape, I go, there he is. There's our hero. Plod his way through the ice and snow of the enemy.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
I hate to admit it, but I've seen the movie. But I'll be Kristoff. Why not? You can be Olaf, Mitch.
I feel like Olaf.
All right, let's go to kickoff right now and get this game started again. This is the Week 15 matchup at Arrowhead Stadium, Chiefs and Broncos. Chiefs were 9-4 coming into this one, and to give it away, they go to 10-4 on the season with this win. Ended up being the 5th straight double-digit win season for the Chiefs, the first time they've done that in franchise history. It was also the 9th straight win over the Broncos. And this one was a whole lot of fun. And just another reminder for anyone who hasn't tuned in to Watch Party Wednesday before, you can send us questions. You can send Eric Fisher questions in the chat room, and we will get as many of those to him as we can. And we've already got one from Cooper Graham. Fisher, the question is, how do you prepare for an opponent like Von Miller?
Yeah, Von's, obviously one of the best in the business, man. Obviously a great matchup every time we go against each other. And those matchups are starting to rack up. Him and I have done a couple things off the field with, some outdoor stuff. He's a big, farmer, outdoor kind of guy, and so am I. So we've had some fun, but, obviously a great battle on the field. But prepare the same every week, the same, as the week before. But yeah, he's got some real good tools in his tool belt that he likes to pull out. So great matchup always.
I got to ask you, Fish. I mean, we're so blessed with our equipment staff, and I love them all. But in a game like this, like traction is such a big deal for you guys. We're watching the defense here first, but what about like the shoes you need? You're talking about blocking Von Miller in that defensive line. But what about a game like this where you're going, I have got to have the best traction possible? What goes through your decision on what you wear for shoes in a game like this?
Yeah, man, Alan Wright, the equipment manager who has been working with the Chiefs for longer than I've been alive. This is a 7-stud game. O-linemen know it. You can't use traction as an excuse why you didn't make your block. So you pull out the 7 studs, and O-linemen hate 7 studs because there are these cleats in the bottom that are like this big, and when you step on each other, it's just like 300 pounds of just a lot of weight directly on one toe, and it's the worst. But we get games like this, and you gotta make do.
Did you go to the 5/8, or were you at a half, or did you go 3/8 with the cleats?
I don't know. It's Alan's job, man. I said, don't let me slip, and he makes it happen.
What about you guys get off to a good start here? This is a fast start, and getting ahead on a day like this, I always talk, if you can get on top of a team like this with the conditions, but you're able to get a touchdown on this initial drive, how big was that?
It's huge, especially in a game like this. Where we were sitting at the time, when you can get up early, the rest of the game usually takes care of itself. But if you give a team, a whiff of hope, man, it can be a long day. So coming out fast and strong on this game was huge. And, I just remember how fun it was to be out there. It was so cool, man. We really had a good time. And, these are the kind of games that you remember for a long back to. The people you have there in the stands, and they're always having fun with it because it's definitely cold out there, but I think the party in the stands make it a little warmer.
We've gotten used to seeing this of Tyreek Hill just running deep and you guys giving him some protection. I know that a lot of times just the nature of the position that you guys don't get a lot of credit, but for a good portion of this game, it just looked like Patrick Mahomes is playing 7-on-7 because of the protection that he was able to get. I know going up against Von Miller, we just talked about it. You didn't allow a single hurry, a single pressure in this game, and at different points, that first drive and a couple of drives in the second half, it just looked like he just makes it look easy sitting back there just chucking it around. But Fish, the question I want to ask you is because coming into this game, just as far as the storylines, it was coming off a huge win in New England, where you guys had already secured the AFC West title for the 4th straight year, which is extending an already franchise record. But you already pretty much locked up or looked to lock up the number 3 seed, and it was kind of like the outside shot that you could get a 1 or a 2 seed. So it was almost set up for that classic letdown, and that you need help from like Miami beating New England or beating Baltimore or doing something crazy in order to move up. So how did you guys mentally kind of approach that, or do those conversations even enter the locker room as far as trying to get that first round bye and knowing that you just have to control what you can control?
I think Coach Reed sets us up great for doing the whole control what you can control thing. When you start focusing on things that you can't control, your mind goes other places. And so we just approach this game, and just like every other game, man, we have the ultimate goal, and we take it week by week. So why get ahead of yourself? And I think we just came out this game to do our thing. And this is the point of the year where we were just firing on all cylinders, and it just rolled us right into the playoffs. So. And the rest is history on that. But, I think Coach does such a good job of, this wasn't a week off. This wasn't, just a fun game in the snow. This was, time to go to work again.
We saw the muff PAT. We got to figure out a way to get you on every placement protection. On any muff PAT, they just throw it up for you.
I'm there. I'm still just trying to get on field goal block, man. I want to block a field goal. I'm tall.
We've seen you in pat and go. You've got some hands. We've seen it every Friday. We've got another question from the chat room. I think you've been asked this before. It's from Xero Solar. The question is, how does it feel having to protect Patrick Mahomes? And did you have to change some of the things of how you play by how he moves and all of that?
I personally really like blocking for him because it's, I like to consider myself an athletic dude. So, when he gets on the move, I like getting on the move with him and, just, getting out in space and doing my best to extend a play or, give him as much time back there. Like we were, man, all he needs is a couple extra seconds and that ball is going downfield.
We got a couple of your nice pass sets coming up here in a minute. Let you break those down at I believe around the 3:17 mark. You go one-on-one with Von Miller on a third down that we end up picking up. I think it went to Kelsey because it seemed like every pass went to Kelsey in this game. But
this one was fun, man.
I remember
the snow
field
was
crew coming out.
And, the field crew blowing the lines, and
here we go.
That's a free play.
The next one, yeah, it's on this next play. But I remember the field crew coming out and blowing the lines and making sure everybody could see during every timeout break and just clearing it off. And it never stopped snowing, which is the other interesting part of this game. But let us know what you got right here.
Yeah, it looked like empty protection. I don't know. Just do my job, man. I think that's, as a lineman, you're just kind of programmed to, hey, do your job. Give Pat as much time, man. We all got the same goal, and we know it takes 11 of us to complete a play like that. So we all got a big job. But, this one was it was so much fun, man. Just knowing we clinched the West, and we're out there just having the time of our lives, man. And then Pat comes out after and says he's a snow game guy. Come on, man. Big Fish is a snow game guy.
Hey, but he's college in West Texas. I'm telling you, there might be a day like this every now and then out there in Lubbock. But playing with him, how much does it help you that the ball comes out so fast? There's times where you don't have to one more count. Like this is an instance where the ball gets out fast from him. How much does that help you?
Oh, it's awesome. I mean, that's a lineman's dream, but at the same time, we're protecting like the ball's not coming out fast. So, but it's kind of funny, over the years, you just get a feel based on defense's reaction of when the ball is out, and then that's when you go downfield and either pick your guy up or look to spring that extra block that really what's happening here. Oh yeah, sometimes things don't go how you draw them off.
The fact that he even got a yard on that play is impressive in its own right.
Yeah, right.
How much do you find yourself kind of peeking up at the video board after a play just to see what Patrick did, just to be like, how did he do that?
All the time, man. And then sometimes you'll find yourself looking up at the board and you realize you're not in the huddle. So no, man. But he's just giving us all kinds of highlights, game after game. It's impressive. It's fun to be a part of, and he's doing a heck of a job back there.
We got another question from the chat room from Rebecca Ashton, saying, who do you think the main Chiefs rival is right now? She's saying the Raiders. What do you think?
So here's the thing about winning a lot of football games is you become everybody's rival, and you kind of develop a target on your back, and everyone just wants to knock the Chiefs off it. And that's something we've been building for years. That's something that just doesn't happen overnight. But I'm not sitting here bragging how good we are or anything, but we have been winning a lot in the last quite a few seasons, and you're going to get everybody's best shot every week, and it's definitely a fun process. It's been years in the making, so it's definitely been very, very rewarding to be a part of that.
Here you're able to get a 2-possession league, which is big in a game like this.
Huge.
We talked about getting off to a good start, and now it's 9-0. That's 2 possessions they got. But I got to ask you, so now in a game like this, it's so cold. You're a Michiganer. When you're on defense, the defense is out there now, so you guys are on the sideline. Are you ice fishing? Are you making your own? What's happening with you right now? Well, up 9-0, and you're on the sideline.
Yeah, I try to stay loose on the sideline, more mentally, so I might be making some snowballs over there and just kind of just tossing some snowballs at people. I don't know. I think there's at one point in this game, you guys brought up if I remember anything about this game. At one point, when we're on the field during a TV timeout or something, I will be writing drawing my number in the snow. It was huge. It was a big 72. And then Wiley comes over and he like erases the bottom part of the 2, so it's like a 77. I'm like, man, you're stealing my thunder out here. But yeah, I don't remember what quarter it was, but maybe we'll get there. Yeah, but the heaters on the sideline are clutch. You know, not that I'm standing in front of them or anything, but
yeah, the other thing we mentioned about Drew Lock, we haven't talked about him yet in this game. This is a Kansas City kid that coming into this game, he had yet to trail at any point in the game as we're there on offense. We got another question from loyal viewer of Watch Party Wednesdays, Governor McLovin, because we will not forget that name. Fish, what are you doing different this offseason? I guess that is besides the obvious of the whole quarantine and not having OTAs, but for you, workouts, just your body changing as you get older as a player. Are you doing anything different?
Yeah, definitely. I think every year that you go through the league, more and more maintenance on the body. So especially with extra time this year, you know, it's kind of a bummer with not being able to get massages and not being able to have like other people work on you. So you got to do a lot of self-care. You know, I'm a big fan of like the Chinese cupping stuff. There's like this grafting technique and just stuff to keep you loose, keep the joints loose. And then I got my gym set up out in the garage, and so I'll go out there, crush some weights, and go chop some firewood or something after.
Rocky in Russia.
And BJ Fish, I want to ask you again how you had to grind back from that injury. I mean, you and I talked a whole bunch of lot. You were rehabbing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how tough was that to get you back? So when you hit the ground running, you were just thunder all the way through the winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it was definitely mentally challenging and physically challenging. You know, I tried to come back. I think it was week 7 or 8 or something, and didn't quite work out. Took another couple weeks, and then came back, man, and ended up going 11-0 in the season personally, and that was pretty cool. I thought it was like on a Super Bowl season to not lose the game as a starter. That was pretty special to me, and but yeah, it was definitely challenging. Anytime you have like a mid-season surgery, while you guys are just out there and. We're not winning every game, so that adds to it. And so you just I think it goes back to control what you can control. And I did my best to do that, and came back, and good things happened.
Got another question from the chat room from Ryan Lane. Which defensive end talked the most trash?
There was one in the Super Bowl, but then he was crying. And then I don't know. You don't really talk too much. You don't really talk too much on the field, because you're playing the best of the best every week in and out, and so the trash talk really isn't as much as people would think. But it's a situation for that to start.
I thought you might say Frank at camp.
I thought that was the same thing. I was like, you can't say Frank.
You guys had some epic battles at camp.
Those started in OTAs. First day, you guys were.
I remember OTAs. It's just like, really, man? We're going here in OTAs? All right.
But you got him back at camp. You got him back at camp, yeah.
I'm curious, Fish, for thinking to the other side of the ball, because you guys going against them, you saw the competition we joke about during OTAs, but when did you notice a difference on that side of the ball, whether it's the energy, the buy-in, just the belief that they could go out and help win a game when the offense has an off day? Like, when did you see it and notice, like, holy cow, okay, this is different?
Yeah, it might have been like the week I came back when we were down in Mexico. I just remember the defense played out of their mind in Mexico, and then they were just all in, man, for the rest of the year. So to have our offense clicking with that, I mean, it was going to be hard to beat us.
Yeah, they're right in the middle of a stretch including this game of the last 4. They just allowed 11 points per game, 3 of 12 inside the red zone. And because of guys in plays like that from Tyrann Mathieu, that play is going to be on highlight films for ever with Mitch's call.
It's so cool how deliberate this is. Like this, wow. That's so cool, man. What an awesome dude. When he got in the locker room, man, it's just you knew he was a special cat on and off the football field, and He's a great guy to have around, and you know, I hope to see him making a lot more plays like that in the next coming years.
So they get a field goal here, Fish, but now it's coming up what's referred to on Watch Party Wednesdays as Mitchie drives, and I love them. 1:56 left to go on the clock. They've just scored, so now you go, okay, put the hammer down here. You come right back.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I said, we got to put the hammer down right here. Can't let them get back in this.
You have the ball for the rest of the time. They get no time left, and you get the answer to the three. Just this drive and how cool it was, no pun intended.
It was definitely pretty. I mean, there's certain situations offenses like really pride themselves in. One of them's 2 minute, one of them's 4 minute, and it's basically just like put up or shut up time. So these drives are special, and to give Pat the time back there and have him do his thing, and I mean, it's just cool watching this just rolling down the field. Look at that.
We've been watching these Watch Party Wednesdays, and I love watching the games like this because Travis Kelce, whether it's a corner, a safety, a linebacker, every week it's like you see a different team try something different with him, and you can't cover him.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing. I mean, but like it doesn't stop. I mean, look how many different guys are getting the ball and just like huge chunk plays. Trav's obviously special at what he does, but you know, we got a lot of special guys on this offense. It's cool.
This is such a good drive, though, because if they're thinking about getting back in the game, you talk about having them any kind of glimmer of hope. This is it, and you just kind of took the oxygen out of them on this drive.
Yeah, I mean, look at that. Like Pat goes for a huge scramble, and then he's like sprinting back to the huddle in the snow. I mean, how awesome is that?
You got the flag right there. It's also the game that Kelce went over 1,000 yards for the season, became the first tight end in NFL history to have 4 straight 1,000-yard seasons. So, Fisher, I know how much you enjoy those just sports media discussions of greatest of all time and he's the best in this and the best in that. But you start putting together seasons that nobody else in NFL history has ever done. Yeah. And people are going to start to have those conversations.
Definitely, man. You know, it's cool to be a part of it too. I mean, as a lineman, you don't really get those kind of accolades all that much. You know, so to play with guys like Trav and Pat, it's something you can hang your hat on the rest of your life.
And speaking of records, I think it was great that you guys were able to put together this drive. This is actually the 44-yard field goal in the snow that allowed Harrison Butker to have the most points scored through the first 3 years of a career of any player ever, which is also impressive. Talking about records broken, it seems like with this offense that we have records that are broken every week. Mitch, you have one last question for Fish before we let him go?
Yeah, I do, and it's not in football. It has to do with this philanthropy. He's gained some real momentum, and the Chiefs Kingdom has embraced you. This is before your celebration in the playoffs, but I got to ask you what's going on with that, because it's been really cool to see how that's grown.
Yeah. You know, just keep chopping wood, man. I think that's like that's EB right there, man. Keep chopping wood, and you know, are you talking about the organization?
I'm talking about your fundraiser and what you've done for.
Oh, I got you. Okay. Yeah. So I support a few. Actually, really, I mean, like, I don't want to like specify like any like animal organization that you know is in Kansas City doing good things, man. I love to be a part of it. It's one of the things I'm missing right now because I've developed a lot of good relationships throughout the Kansas City area with animal, I guess you could call it welfare or charity or shelters. You know, so I developed a lot of good relationships and doing my best to keep those relationships going for Michigan right now. But yeah, there's quite a few great people in the area who are doing good things. So I like being a part of it.
We'll keep it rolling. I know you got some momentum with that.
Definitely, yeah. We were able to raise a bunch of money, not this past season, but the season before, and you know, I was able to do a couple special projects, you know, and get other companies involved, you know, for some like landscaping and stuff for some of the organizations that are working on tight budgets.
Yeah.
Earning Pro Bowls, winning Super Bowls, helping animals, and building cars. That is Eric Fisher, man. We appreciate your time. Continue to stay safe, and hopefully we see you soon, man.
All right, man. You guys have fun watching the rest of this. I hope we win.
See you, Fish.
Yeah, see you later.
That is Kansas City Chiefs left tackle Eric Fisher. That was a whole lot of fun. And right now we're going to welcome on Matt McMullen. Matt, I know you've been itching to get on. Do you just want to have the floor to give all your McNuggets that you have been waiting to share from the first half?
Well, I noticed you were starting to steal some of them from me. I had that Kelsey one written down already.
Intentionally. I wanted to get you scrambling.
I will say, though, there's one that I've been itching to say, and you guys did not talk nearly enough about how good Patrick Mahomes was in a blizzard through the first half of this game. So I have these stats written down here. In the first half of this one, Mahomes went 15 of 19 for 210 yards and a touchdown in the snow. Those numbers would be good like if it was a beautiful day, and he's doing this in the snow. And that 40-yard touchdown to Tyreek earlier on, he has thrown 16 touchdowns now of 40 or more yards since the beginning of the 2018 season. Most of any quarterback in the NFL. The guy's a human highlight reel, even if it's snowing outside.
Hold on, Lamar's at center, under center. Here we go. Here's that "Did I look like Lamar" play. Mitch, on a scale from 1 to Lamar, where do you rank that?
This play on the 2-point conversion, it's right up there. I'd say an 8.0 for the number of Lamar Jackson being number 8. Honestly, but in great stats, Matt, because what he's proven, what's brought up, but what Pat's proven is how many games has he played like this? Remember, he was born as the Chiefs QB1 in a cold day in Denver at the end of 2017. And think about this, guys. 1/3 of your schedule is played in December. 5 of the 16 games, if we play in the normal calendar, are going to be after December 1. And every year, the Chiefs have games like this or multiple games like this because, and if the schedule is, I'm not saying it will or won't, but if it gets pushed back, you're going to have even more games in this kind of weather. But Pat's proven, bring it on. This is 15 wind chill on this day, not just the snow. It's cold, and he can do it. There's a lot to him that not just stats with this guy.
Matt, I had a bunch of stats ready for this, and a couple of them, I didn't want to steal them if you were going to have them, but you saw another example right there. Something that stood out to me during this game is that Drew Lock making his 3rd career start, a young quarterback. He was 2-0 coming into this game, finished 4-1. This is the only game he lost that he started for the Broncos. But what stood out to me about what Steve Spagnuolo's defensive game plan coming into this one was to get after the young quarterback. They blitzed him on 19 of his 42 dropbacks in this game. Now, granted, some of it had to do with the score as far as how many times he was dropping back to throw, probably more than they wanted to. But almost half the time he stepped back, we were sending at least 5 guys after him. And on those 42 dropbacks and 19 blitzes, he just went 7 of 18 on those times where we blitzed him. Whereas if you look on the flip side, we talk about Patrick Mahomes. He was blitzed 8 times in this game. He goes 8 for 8 for over 100 yards, over 11 yards per attempt. When they sent extra guys after him, he made them pay. And on the flip side, Drew Lock didn't make the Chiefs pay. In fact, they got to Drew Lock, put a lot of pressure on him, with Steve Spagnuolo being very aggressive in this game, going after a young quarterback.
Well, BJ, you look at the Broncos' 8 possessions in this game. They go punt, 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 field goal, punt, interception, turnover on downs. They're 5 for 14 on 3rd down. So you're absolutely right. And when you look at what the Chiefs did, like you said, you can't blame the snow. I mean, the Chiefs defense just, once again, this was right in the middle of their stretch where they were the best defense in the NFL. They contained a Broncos offense that, again, like you said, smoked the Houston Texans the week before. So huge outing by this Chiefs defense.
But the precursor to all this is they stopped the run. And that's what Denver's going to still try to do again this year by picking up Melvin Gordon and those interior linemen that they've got. It started with they ran the ball 10 yards, you guys, on their first scrimmage down. That was it for the day. 3.5 as an average. There are no big runs in this game, and that forced them into those 40 passing attempts.
We saw it on that, I believe it was that first down play. We saw Juan Thornhill coming up and making the tackle. I thought this was one of his better games as far as run defense where he comes up. He gets a lot of credit for his interceptions. I think he had 3 on the season. He had 1 in this game here a little bit later. But his ability to come down and run defense really surprised me, Mitch, because when he came into this league, we knew about his ball skills. He had 13 career interceptions at Virginia. We knew he could read a defense, he could take the ball away, but what he was able to do in run defense was really impressive to me, and it stood out in this game. I'm excited to see him back once they get into camp, whenever that is.
The other thing is you can see how comfortable this defense is getting. Spags gives 50,000 looks at Drew Lock in this game. There's no communication problems. There's no trying to figure it out. They're on a roll here. Fish said it best. It started in Mexico City, but by this time, it is full throttle with this defense, and they're hitting on all cylinders.
Jeremy Green from the chat room says, "You guys look cold." Truth be told,
I'm hands right now.
Well,
yeah, is your guys' AC up right now? Yeah, I'm cranking my AC trying to keep the persona going, but I'm hot. I was going to say, though, speaking of being cold, how does 10 quarterback hits, which the Chiefs got on Drew Lock in this game, how does that feel when it's freezing outside?
Not great. There's a lot on Drew Lock coming into this game. Grew up a Chiefs fan, grew up 20 miles from Arrowhead Stadium, was 2-0 coming into this game, going up against the Chiefs team. He had 50 family and friends in the stands. There's a lot on a young quarterback, and like I said, they got after him.
So, guys, what I love about this play right here is the Honey Badger interception obviously gets wiped away. But this defense has so many playmakers that the very next play, Juan Thornhill takes the ball away. I just love that you can never slow down or rest against this defense when they're feeling this groove that they are right now.
That's a lesson that he cannot throw that pass. He cannot attempt to throw that pass, particularly in this kind of weather.
Yeah. I'll take it, though.
You can keep doing that. Fine with it.
It shows you the skills, though, and the recovery here of Thornhill. I mean, his ability to recover there and still track the ball. I mean, all three of us know we think he's going to be really special. And this is when the game hits cruise control. This is when you're like, set the cruise at 75 and just let her rip, and a whole lot of Spencer Ware and D-Train from here on in.
Mitch, I think this was about the time in the radio broadcast that you guys were making fun of me because you were up sipping hot cocoa in the radio booth. I was down on the sideline freezing in the snow.
No one was feeling sorry for you because we'd all have that duty. We've all been sideline reporters at one time or another. So, yeah, we were feeling your pain, but not that much.
I got a close-up view of former Boston College standout Isaac Yadam trying to cover Travis. That's a cornerback getting juked out at the line of scrimmage by a 6'5", 260-pound tight end that basically runs like a receiver.
All right, guys. Cody from the comment section is asking for another McNugget on Pat, so I'm going to oblige
Set
Cody.
yourself up.
I did.
Yeah. Do it.
I mean, come on, I got to. So yes, Cody, I do have another one. This was Patrick's 17th 300-yard game in his career and just 29 regular season starts. So think about that. 59% of his regular season starts, he threw for 300 yards, and obviously he's kept doing that after this game. But just unbelievable. What this guy does is he makes good numbers, like really crazy numbers, seem normal every single week. Like it's no big deal. He threw for 340 yards in the snow because we're so used to it, but it is a big deal. We can never forget that.
And thinking about it, in 2+ years, he's lost one division game, and that was 29-28 on a walk-off 2-point conversion. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, what he's done against the division is crazy.
That looked exactly like the San Francisco 49ers play from 2018.
It did.
You just expect him to throw and do something crazy and throw a touchdown. But
well, and when this happens too, it's like, oh, you're kind of surprised, but you're like, hey, whatever. I mean, next series we'll get him, no problem.
Yeah,
Rashad Breeland's going to have nightmares about that play. That was right there.
This is like our Defending the Kingdom of 2 weeks ago. We're going to talk to Spags. How many picks are on there are so many drop picks in this game. Drew Lock's going to be a fine player, but guys, the Chiefs could have picked him 10 times in this game, including that possible probable pick six.
And the one story I remember from going into this game about, facing a young quarterback, and Tyrann Mathieu was just asked about, as a veteran player in a team that's, like we talked about earlier, 3 seed, you're going to need a little help if you want to get a bye. If you stay locked in and take care of your business and you get a little help, then you're going to get home field, which is obviously what ended up happening for the Chiefs. But I remember talking to Tyrann Mathieu and him saying in the locker room that when he was a young player in Arizona, when he was playing for the Cardinals in 2015, they had a really good team. They ended up going to the NFC title game. And it was early in the season. They were going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers, who had a young quarterback in Landry Jones, who was making his first career start. And he said he remembered that whole week of practice, the guys were just kind of going through the motions and just kind of taking it easy because they were going up against a young quarterback and somebody they didn't really believe that could go out there and beat him. And Landry Jones and the Steelers went out there and beat him. And Matthew said all week he was reminding his Chiefs teammates that, he had been in this position before, not to overlook a young quarterback, particularly, like we said, coming off the game against the Patriots this high. You clinched the AFC West for the 4th straight year. And we talk about staying locked in that leadership. And that was just one of the stories and the experiences that Tyrann Mathieu brought to this team and kind of how his leadership just manifested throughout the week leading into this game.
Yeah, BJ, I think you're absolutely right about that. Just where we know he's an all-pro in the field, Pro Bowler, great player, makes plays, but the leadership that him and Frank Clark and other guys on this defense showed, that's what helped the Chiefs win a Super Bowl almost more than the stats. The leadership is invaluable.
He's targeted 6 times in this game, allowed just 2 catches for 11 yards.
Here's Frank. Angel. I mean, it's pretty cool. You can tell by this time of the game, it's Denver's like, who do we play next week? And give them credit. They won their last 2 games of the year to go 4 out of 5. This was their only loss they had with Drew Lock. But at this point of the game, you're thinking, just glide on out.
Travis Kelce has himself another catch.
And to think about 9 straight wins against these guys, 9 straight wins. And the last loss was that Roby running in the fumble by Jamal Charles in the opening game of 15, or that game's going to overtime. So, I mean, you're talking 9 straight.
Got another question from the chat room from Cooper Graham. Who are each of you guys most excited to watch next year? I don't think it's games. It may be players is what we're going to take it. So, Matt, we'll have you go first. Who are you most excited to watch next year?
All right. Well, I'll go with maybe a new player. I'll say L'Jarius Sneed, cornerback out of Louisiana Tech. Mostly, I want to see what we have in him. Electric speed, 4th fastest time at the combine, and just a ball hawk. He had 3 pick sixes in college. I want to see what Tyrann Mathieu and what the coaches can do with him in the secondary. He should be a fun player to watch.
Mitch, who do you got?
I'm really interested in McCole Hardman. We talked about Tyreek Hill and what he did from 16 to 17. I just think McCole Hardman's ready to go like 2 levels higher. And on scrimmage downs becomes an unbelievable weapon and can hit a home run every time he comes to the plate.
And for me, it's easy because he was my favorite draft pick, and not taking nothing away from any other guys who were drafted, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire and all those guys. But Willie Gay Jr. is the player that I cannot wait to watch. He's 6'4", 230, and ran like a 4.46. And Steve Spagnuolo came out and said he's basically going to start at one of the 2 outside spots. So whether that's the Sam spot that we saw Reggie Ragland fill, and with his speed and athleticism, does he fit into some of those sub packages, and how quickly does he kind of pick that stuff up? That's the player that I'm by far most excited to watch. Mitch, you've compared him to Derek Johnson, and you just add that size, that speed in the middle of this defense, and a guy who, not just because of the size and speed, but he's an energy giver. This is a guy who's right up there with Frank Clark, Tyrann Mathieu, Chris Jones, as far as his energy and the way that he reacts with the crowd and just serves as that conduit of that energy going from the crowd to the guys on the field. And you're basically going to have guys at all 3 levels right now that provide that kind of spark and that kind of energy. And I cannot wait for Arrowhead and for everybody in all Chiefs Kingdom just to see this dude out on the field and see him out at training camp.
Again, if you become more explosive on defense, you become that more lethal. But I got a chuckle out of the coordinators being in front of the media this week because Tobes going, I like Willie Gay Jr. I think he's a 4-core special teams guy. I'll take him. That's good. And then Spags is going, wait a minute, who's going to start for me? So it was already the discussions about his usage. But one cool thing next week on the Defending the Kingdom on the podcast, we jump in with Spags a whole lot more with that, just what he's seeing and not only using Willie but others in expanding this defense next year. And to me, overall, that gets really exciting because I think this defense is going to be outstanding.
Jeremy Green says Cortland Sutton having nightmares from the Badger. And we saw that kind of come to fruition this week when it kind of came out that he said that like he's had nightmares about that play in the end zone, that the ball got knocked out. And We saw this offseason, the Broncos did their best to give Cortland Sutton, Drew Lock, and the rest of that offense some help. With the drafting of Jerry Jeudy and KJ Hamler and drafting of Lloyd Cushenberry, they brought in Graham Glasgow from the Lions as another interior offensive lineman. They've done their best to help. They didn't bring in a tackle, which was a little surprising, but yeah, they've done their best to try to surround Drew Lock with some more talent and some more weapons.
And just a point to mention in this game, the Chiefs get the ball here at 4:47 to go and never give it back. Remember, Fish in the first half was talking about the 2-minute, the 4-minute. That's where you got to prove yourself. This is just, they take the ball and run. Denver never gets the ball back here. It's just a sight of beauty to me to see this. But I'm going to dovetail on your comment, too. I think Denver's done a great job. And I think it's getting Melvin Gordon and running like a zone scheme. We've already seen how Drew Lock can run those bootlegs like Tannehill can do for Tennessee, and I think that becomes the centerpiece of their scheme.
Matt, what do we call those drives?
Those are Mitchie drives.
There we go. I needed like a ding. I needed like a bell, like a light to pop up, like Mitchie drive.
Like Mitch's face is right here.
Mitchie drive. Right here in our Frozen theme, that was Coach Reed saying, let it go. Just let it go.
All right. Chiefs win 23-3 over the Broncos. Again, move to 10-4, making it the 5th straight season that the Chiefs got double-digit wins. First time in franchise history that they can say that. You just start stacking. We talk about Super Bowl win now, but you still don't forget about all those other checkpoints that the Chiefs hit on the way under Andy Reid and the way that he's brought a consistent winner like we've never seen here in Kansas City. And we're starting to see it when you start stacking up all these double-digit wins, that there's not a lot of programs, organizations in the NFL that can talk about sustained success, and the Chiefs are right on the cusp of doing even more and entering even more discussions when it comes to that with what Coach Reid has done here in Kansas City.
Yeah, BJ, I just want to follow up on that. I mean, you think about winning double-digit games 5 years in a row. Teams don't do that. And for it to become a normal thing, that's just a really big deal. And following him up on something Mitch said quite earlier, 9 straight wins over the Broncos. You can't forget about that. That's incredible. They've averaged 28.7 points per game on offense in those games and allowed just 16.4. These Broncos were a team that was in the Chiefs' side, a thorn in the Chiefs' side for so long. And to win 9 straight games over them and to dominate them consistently doesn't get better than that.
And I'll say this is only my 27th year as the voice of the Chiefs, so it's a brief stint, I know. But to your point, Matt, I spent a lot of that time being on a team that was chasing John Elway. Yeah, I go back that far. And then chasing Peyton Manning. Now it's the Broncos chasing the Chiefs. And I don't want to sound arrogant here. It's just a fact of life. The rest of the league is chasing this guy, Pat Mahomes, and the Chiefs, who've been dominant.
Well, that's what happens when you win Super Bowl, and Eric Fisher talked about it. When you're the team on top, everyone is your rival because everyone's coming after you, including the Denver Broncos, who got outscored in the 2 games this season 53-9. So we can use whatever words we want, but the facts are what they are and the scores are what they are. So we appreciate everybody for watching. We have got special 2 episodes next week of Watch Party Wednesday on Wednesday and on Friday, starting with the playoffs. We've got the Houston Texans win on Wednesday, the overcoming the 24-point deficit, and then they overcame a deficit in the AFC title game as well against the Tennessee Titans. Again, both of those will be at 6 o'clock Wednesday and Friday, and we will have special guests just like we did today. Again, next week, fellas, I'm excited for those, and I'm excited to not necessarily be wearing a beanie and sweating during that show either.
I'm going to go grab some cocoa, you guys, so see ya.
This was fun, guys, as always. Can't wait for the playoffs.
Chiefs Kingdom, we appreciate everybody for watching. We will see you next week.